Murderbot is not in this story, but one of Murderbot's closest friends and a fan favorite is in Martha Wells' new short story, Rapport. And the best part, you can read it for free on Reactor's website. Stick around in this video to hear my thoughts. We have a new Murderbot story released by Martha Wells on Reactor Magazine's website for free. This came out on Friday, July 10th, 2025, and the release coincided with the finale of the Murderbot TV show on Apple+. The full title of this story is Rapport, Friendship, Solidarity, Communion, Empathy. That's a lot of words to pack into a short story title, but hey, what do you know? I did read this story recently, and I did enjoy it. And no, it does not feature Murderbot, but it does feature one of Murderbot's closest friends and, well, if you can call him a friend, and a fan favorite, Perry Helion, also known by Murderbot as Art. I'm not going to tell you what Art stands for. If you've read the novels, you know. If you don't, go read at least the first two books by Martha Wells to figure out who Art is and why it's called Art. So Art does call himself Perry Helion, or Perry for short. Art is a nickname made by Murderbot. So in this story, there is no Murderbot. So there's no mention of the Art nickname. It's just a story of Perry Helion and his crew. So a little bit of context here on who Perry is. Perry Helion is a research transport ship, and in particular, the Perry part of it is a machine intelligence that is the pilot of the ship. So this story begins with the crew of Perry Helion on a mission to reach a pre-corporate habitation. But in between the ship and the habitation, a corporation-rim space station sits and has been constructed and sits in the way. So the question is, how do they get through the corporation space station to their mission objective? And it starts off with a bit of an argument between Perry and one of the crew members, Iris. So Perry has an idea. It wants to simply destroy the space station using its weapons and killing most of the people on board that space station, some of whom may be innocent. And Iris disagrees and has, kind of a better, much more reasonable plan. Well, let's just dock at the space station and simply walk through it to the other side, to the pre-corporate habitation part of it. So, Perry doesn't quite like that idea. So it starts off with a bit of a disagreement. And this is a short story, so I don't want to get into spoilers. This is just starting off the story. This is how it begins. Of course, Perry doesn't quite get his way. They do dock at the space station, and the crew embarks into the station itself to find that it has been a part of a hostile takeover by another company. As they walk through the space station, one part about this story that I really liked is kind of the way that Martha Wells describes this station is really very interesting. Kind of gave me Babylon 5 vibes, if you've ever seen that show, except this story doesn't have aliens in it. But there's it's a very lived-in station. There are vines everywhere hanging down. There are all these stalls and things. One of the characters goes to a kiosk and gets a steamed bun to eat. There are all these people walking around in different styles of clothing and stuff, and Martha really gives us a nice image of what this space station looks like. So this story it's not very plot focused. While I did enjoy the plot of them the very short plot of them trying to get through the space station, They encounter guards and other drones and things along the way, but we never really figure out like what is this mission about? Why do they have to get here? That's never explained. This story is about Perry and his relationship with the crew, and it also has the interesting perspective of this story is set right after the Murderbot book Artificial Condition, when Perry had just met up with the Murderbot sec unit. So this story is kind of to tell us, how did Murderbot affect Perihelion? And this whole story, the crew's like, wow, Perry is really in a strange mood, and he's doing all these new things. He has these new skills and abilities that he can hack into security systems, and he has these weird, interesting drones that he's using. And the crew's like, well, where did it learn all these new skills and things? And Perry doesn't want to talk about it. He's not really ready to share his feelings, if you want to call them feelings, about what happened to him in the past, who he met, and how he feels about any of that. So this is very much a character development story of Perihelion. It's Perry kind of coming to terms with what happened and kind of learning to trust and share that with his crew. And I really did like that aspect. I wanted to see a little bit more of what this mission was about, so I kind of wish the story was a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit longer. But I get that Martha Wells, that wasn't her goal here. This was about Perry for sure as a character, and you can definitely tell that from the title of the story, Rapport, and that's the rapport that Perry has with his crew member. So yeah, it's a really short story. I really enjoyed it. It is, like I said, it is set after Artificial Condition, so I think it's considered Murderbot 2.5 in the Murderbot stories. But I would suggest not reading this story until you've read all of the Murderbot stories, just because I think it would be better to see Murderbot's perspective of art of Perry before we get this perspective. I think it adds to that more. You probably could read this after Artificial Condition if you really wanted to, but my suggestion is to read all of the stories first and then read this one. But it's probably not going to hurt to read it after Artificial Condition. That's just not my ideal chronology there. So I think overall, really did enjoy this story. It's a nice addition to Murderbot, the Murderbot world, and it makes me want to read more stories in that universe. So I'll be eagerly awaiting Martha's next entry. Hopefully it comes soon. And overall, I'm going to give this story a 4 out of 5, and it's definitely recommended. Oh, and another thing I'd like to add, you can definitely tell why Murderbot calls Perry what he calls him. Perry is kind of a jerk. It's in a funny way, so I did find this story very amusing as well, which is very on brand for Martha Wells and her stories. As I'm sure readers already know, these are amusing, fun stories overall. All right. That's it. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this short review of a short story. Let me know in the comments, have you read Rapport by Martha Wells? And if you haven't, why not? It's free on the Reactor Magazine website. I'll add the link below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.